So Mariama was born on the 17th of April 1929, and she lived until 17th August 1981. Mariama is from Senegal. She's a writer, she's a feminist. She was born in Dakar and raised as a Muslim. So Long a Letter was published in 1979. It is her most famous work. It's the work that makes her famous. Authors usually have that one work that makes them renowned across the world. She must have authored other works, but this work made her popular, gave her fame, brought her fame, right, and renown. Okay, and So Long a Letter is a semi-autobiographical novel because it, in a fictional way, tells the story of the author's life and experiences growing up in a Muslim and a patriarchal society as a woman. Okay, so you know that whatever burden other members of society bear, the woman always bears it on double counts, because first she bears it as a woman, then she bears it as an oppressed class. Okay, and she even bears it as a black person if that happens in an African community or African American community. That's what you need to understand. So the work is also an epistolary novel. An epistolary novel is written in the form of a letter, okay, from epistle. So her parents were well-to-do and they were educated. They were from Lebu ethnicity, from Lebu ethnic group. Her father was a career civil servant. Later, he was made health minister. That was in 1956. He was made minister for health in 1956. She was raised both formally and informally, as in terms of education. So she received traditional instructions from her grandparents after her mother passed away. She also had French colonial education, so she has some kind of experienced background. So she had French colonial education. She also attended Quranic school. That means where Muslim ideologies are taught. Mariama studied law. She also attended a teacher's training college. Mariama studied law. She also attended a teacher's training college. She excelled in education as she won a prize. We are told that Ba married 3 times. Mariama married 3 times and had 9 children. So perhaps that explains the preponderance of children in So Long a Letter. That explains the preoccupation with children, because she knows how well to be a mother. Her 3rd marriage, which was the longest, was the one Eyoh Etim. This character is referenced in the main work but in a different, slightly different name. So we'll get there when we get there. He was a member of parliament. But of course, the marriage also ended in divorce. The marriage also ended in divorce. Mariama died in 1981 after a prolonged illness. Of course, in our understanding of the lives of great men, you should see that they come, they achieve greatness, and then they go. That's just the structuralist pattern of great men. She wrote Scarlet Song and published it in 1981, shortly before she died. Scarlet Song. Mariama did not accept the label feminist because it was loaded with Western values. Mariama did not accept the label feminist because it was loaded with Western values. She did not also agree with the traditional Senegalese Muslim values for women because the Muslim culture tended to oppress women. Muslim culture tends to oppress women. Just like most religious tradition does. Her ideological stance tilted towards womanism. A religious stance tilted towards womanism. And this is depicted in the novel So Long and Later, in the views of Rahmatullahi. Womanist views are depicted in the novel So Long and Later, in the character and views of Rahmatullahi. So in the novel, Rahmatullahi embodies the womanist perspective. The womanist believes in the survival of all peoples, both males and female. So the womanist is accommodationist in nature. It believes that both men and women should survive under mutual respect and understanding. As already stated, So Long and Later is written in the form of a letter. The letter is addressed to Aishatu. By a friend, Rahmatullahi. Rahmatullahi is the author of the letter. So she represents the author's voice in the novel. Rahmatullahi represents the author's voice in the novel. And the addressee is Aishatu, her friend who's living abroad in the United States, to be specific, to be precise, at the point the letter is written. And that is what necessitates the writing of the letter. So space, distance, space necessitates the writing of the letter. Back then, letter writing was a veritable source and form of communication between people separated by vast distances. In the letter, Ramatulaye recalls her friendship with Aishatu right from childhood. So Ramatulaye and Aishatu are childhood friends. Ramatulaye and Aishatu are childhood friends. Are childhood friends. Recalling that childhood friendship, Ramatulaye writes, "We walked the same path from adolescence to maturity, where the past begets the present." We walked the same paths from adolescence to maturity, where the past begets the present. In that statement, Ramatulaye is talking about the force of history and the agency of time. History is animated in that statement. History is a force to reckon with. History is not stagnant. History acts. Time has effects on human action and human life. The past is not dormant. Past constantly exerts its influence on the present. The past is never gone. In many ways, the past continues to act and become relevant in contemporary realities and action. What we're saying. It is revealed in the letter that Aishatu has been divorced and that Ramatulaye's husband, Modufo, has died. No matter how you want to look at it, two tragic events have happened to the two characters, both the addresser and the addressee. Okay? Aishatu has just been divorced, and Modufo, who is Ramatulaye's husband, has just passed away. So it is said in the novel that the two friends are connected by tragedies. The two friends are connected by tragedies. The death of Modufo was announced through a telephone call, which makes Ramatulaye to rush to the hospital. When she gets to the hospital, she meets the doctor Maudu. That's Maudu Ba, a friend of Modufo. The doctor explains to Ramatulaye how Modufo was brought in dead and the attempt to save him being in vain. So that is how we are introduced to the work in the first chapter. The tragedies that the two women share. One has lost a husband, the other has lost a marriage. That's chapter 1. In chapter 2, we see the dramatization of the mourning and the burial rites for Modufo. People mourn Modufo because he was popular, was famous, was rich, was well known. He was perceived as a great man in the community. His public image was top-notch. We see how the crowd come from far and near to the funeral. Modufo was a Muslim and is going to be buried as a Muslim, is supposed to undergo the Muslim burial rites. And it is in the Muslim burial rites that the absurdity of death hits us the most. Because you see, in the Christian burial rites, we tend to glorify death. In fact, there are times they do burial and you feel that you should die at that moment. Because death seems so beautiful, so wonderful. All right? Because at the burial, all the best things that were never said to the person's face are now being said. Okay? The person is giving eulogies upon eulogies by the very people who used to hate him while he was alive. Okay? They write heart-touching tributes, all right? Showing how much they loved the person they hated while he was alive. Then they did not care about. Okay? But you know how the Muslims do that? That's why I say it is the Muslim burial rites that the absurdity of human existence hits you the hardest. Okay? In the Christian burial rites, only when the pastor is a good one and wants to make you reflect, that's the only moment that you may think about death as something solemn and tragic. Apart from that, everywhere is glowing. From the caskets to the procession, to the dressing, to the theatrics, to the food. Maybe even get drunk there. Because life is good. 7 meters of white Muslim, the only clothing Islam allows for the dead. It's absurd. 7 meters of white Muslim, the only clothing Islam allows for the dead. 7 meters. Whether you are a president or you were a beggar, that's what they put on you. So the burial rites are explained in this chapter. And we begin to see the absurdity of human existence. And we begin to wonder why people do all that they do when, at the end of the day, death is going to defeat everything. We are also told that Mudufar was a polygamist, if you know what that means. Because Rahmatullahi reports the presence of a co-wife during the burial rites. There's the presence of the co-wife, and Rahmatullahi says that her presence irritates her. Okay? That the presence of this co-wife irritates her. So, which depicts the normal rivalry that exists in a polygamous home. So ordinarily, Rahmatullahi wouldn't want to stay with her, but it is tradition that the two of them must remain in the same space and mourn the husband. So one of the conflicts that this novel depicts is the conflict that is inherent in a polygamous family, in a polygamous setting. It's a conflict that is inherent in a polygamous family, a polygamous setting. Note that the novel is set in Senegal. And there's a tradition there that it is during the funeral rites that the woman shows how self-sacrificial she can be in order to please the family, the extended family, through gifts and other forms of self-giving. Ramatulai has been married for 30 years. Ramatulai has been married for 30 years. Ramatulai has been married to Modufor for 30 years. The younger wife is by name Binatu. The younger wife is by name Binatu. She has married Modufor for only 5 years. But it seems to me that she has enjoyed the marriage more than Ramatulai. Just 5 years, her 5 years of marriage to Modufor has been more enjoyable compared to Ramatulai's 30 years of marriage. After all, she was the younger wife, more beautiful, more pleasing, and all of that. Eventually, Modufor is buried. Eventually, Modufor is buried. And it is after the burial that the drama intensifies. At the burial, people sing praises for Modufor. He's called the lion-hearted, champion of the oppressed. Because the public perceive him positively. So it is in this novel that we know that there is the public image that the man has, and then there's the image that he has that only his family knows about. Okay? We are told that Modufor was a trade unionist. As a trade unionist, Modufor was a trade unionist. And a famous one at that. The bell right is described as an opportunity for the family to be looted. By the people. And they have a culture where so much is spent during burial. So after the burial, the family meets to give account. They only meet to give account. After the burial, the family meets to give account. The expenditures and whatever received during the burial are accounted for. It is reported that Ramatulai is a school teacher who has married Modufor for 30 years. She has received more gifts than others. That makes Binato's mother to be jealous of her. At a point, the guests begin to leave. After looting the family during their burial. Binato is also leaving at the end of the burial. She lives at the Sikap Villa. She lives at the Sikap Villa, which Modufor took loan to build for her and the mother-in-law. The Muslim tradition imposes certain activities on the widow. She is expected to mourn the husband for a prescribed period of time. So all these details are provided in the letter that Ramatullah writes to Aisha too. So we only have a glimpse of the letter, and then we now know what happened. So there is a family meeting after the burial. There's a family meeting after the burial. Those in attendance are Lady Mother-in-law, that is Beneto's mother, Lady Mother-in-law, her brother, her daughter, Beneto herself, Old Tamser, that is Modufor's brother, and the Imam from the mosque. And the Imam from the mosque. If it was in a Christian setting, the Imam would be a pastor. So take note of that. Madoba is in attendance. Madoba is in attendance at the meeting. Madoba is Modufor's best friend. Then we have Ramatullah's daughter and her husband. So it's a full family meeting. So there's a Muslim tradition that when someone dies and is buried, all his secrets will be exposed. There's nothing to hide anymore. Meaning the dead person should be stripped. So it is during the stripping of Modufor that Ramatullah realizes the betrayal of the husband. It's during the stripping of Modufo that Ramatullah realizes for the first time how deep the husband has betrayed her. Because he abandoned her and her children. Modufo abandoned Ramatullah and her children and focused more on Beneto and her mother. As a betrayal. Modufo was a worker in the Ministry of Public Works. Modufo was a worker in the Ministry of Public Works. He was promoted to the rank of technical advisor. Modufo was a worker in the Ministry of Public Works and was promoted to the rank of technical advisor. But this promotion came at a cost. This promotion came at a cost. Modufo got the promotion in return for betraying the workers. So all that hyping from the public was because they didn't know the deal that Modufo made with the authorities to betray the workers and undermine their rights and activism. It happens all the time, even in our contemporary times. That's a select people will be shouting, unionism, unionism. And at night they will go somewhere and collect money and put it in their pocket and tells the workers, waka. So they will now be the ones to come and advise the workers. You see, it's not this government, they don't really have that money. I think they are trying, they are doing well. So we should try and understand with them. Because he has been settled already. So men like Modufo abound. But because what they do is in secret, they are still loved by the people, despite the fact that they have betrayed the people they were supposed to represent. So he got the promotion to technical advisor in exchange for checking the union's revolt. So the workers will think that we have a leader, but it's actually the leader that is their problem. The teacher has taught us that. Because the leader has turned against the workers for his own selfish interest. Hello, sir. Modufo died without savings and was heavily into debt. Modufo died without savings and was heavily into debt. As we go on, we will see why this is so. It is because he took a huge loan to fund the lifestyle of Binato's mother and her daughter, exactly the way she wanted him to act. He owed debts in car purchase installment. He owed debts in car purchase installment, clothes, and gold. Most of those things might not have been for himself, but for Benato and the mother-in-law, because he wanted to marry a young wife. He owed debts in car purchase, clothes, and gold. He even owed butchers who sell meat and home delivery grocers. So he was living under pressure. Probably that's why he died. He must have died of heart attack. But he was taking on unnecessary pressure. So imagine if he had concentrated on one wife, maybe he would have lived long. Because one wife's trouble is enough already. Right? And now he added another one. And this one that he has added, they are not even contented people, very demanding. And they want to live a particular lifestyle on his own account. And that's what kills Model 4. Okay? He took a bank loan to build a Sikap villa for his new wife, Binatu, and the lady mother-in-law. You know, the idea is that, especially in the Muslim culture, the idea is that polygamy is allowed if you can afford it. Because in patriarchy, it's the man that provides for the family, the man that is expected to make provision for the family. So, having one wife in the modern economy is enough pressure for any man. Not to talk of adding another one, and where that other one is demanding. So, you are free in the Muslim culture to marry as many wives as you want, as long as it is you can afford to take care of them. So, polygamy is not for the weak, right? Polygamy is not for the weak. It's actually for the strong. So you have to check your pocket before you embark on that path, the polygamous path. All right? So he took a bank loan, to build a Sikap villa for Binatu and his mother-in-law. So Model 4 used the Villa Balen. That's where Ramatullah is staying. Model 4 used the Villa Balen, where Ramatullah is staying, as collateral for the new loan. So the betrayal was not only emotional, but also financial or economical. All right? Yet, that house was acquired through their joint savings, though it bears Model 4's name. It was Ramatullah and Model 4 who put their money together to get Villa Falen. All right? But he secretly uses the house as collateral to obtain a loan to build a house for Binatu and the mother-in-law. The betrayal is deep. It's very deep. Very deep. The things that men do to women. So Model 4's loan payment of 75,000 francs monthly was to go on for 10 years before the house could become his own. 75,000 francs was to be paid for 10 years in order to offset the mortgage on the house. Model 4 used his position as technical advisor at work to borrow 4 million francs to fund the Mecca pilgrimage trip of Lady Mother-in-law and her husband, so that they can acquire the title of Alhaji and Alhaja. All these pressures are the things that killed Model 4. Which is why men must not do more than they can do. Okay? Because you are not Jehovah overdo. Just do what you can so that you will not die before your time. Right? It's not as if the money was used for something profitable or a good investment. Not even for himself. Right? At a point, Modufol stops operating the joint savings account with Ramatulaye. At a point, Modufol stops operating the joint savings account with Ramatulaye. At a point, Modufol withdraws Binato from school and pays her salary of 50K every month. All these things could have coalesced to kill Modufol. He signed an agreement to continue to pay 50,000 a month to Binatu. Most of these things were caused by the mother-in-law. It's the mother that orchestrated the marriage, and it's the mother that controls everything. The marriage. So we see here how money and early marriage makes Binatu to lose her educational and career dreams. It happens all the time. Daba is Ramatulaye's eldest daughter. Together with the mother, they are planned how to take over the Sikap villa from Binato and the mother and to leave them homeless as a revenge for what the father did to them. At the time when Modufol passed away, Ramatulaye had a new baby. It shows how the African woman values motherhood. All right? And plays into child monogamy scripts. The woman always being child hungry. Ramatulaye regrets and says that she loved Modufol and gave him 30 years of her life.
Please don't come back.
We are now at chapter 6. In this chapter, Ramatulaye recalls her days with the husband. You know, there will always be those days when things went well, right? When it was all paradise, all music, all harmony. Okay? When you hear the music in the song of birds, right? And the morning is beautiful. It's always that time. So, Ramatullah recalls how she met Modufo. It was love at first sight. Alright? And this happened at the Teachers Training College. It happened at Teachers Training College. That was when the love was young and beautiful. Right? So who would ever have imagined that it will end this way? So that's why we said, when we started the novel, that time is a force that acts on human realities, even acts on human relationships. Time will pass, people will grow old, and their love will die. Okay? Especially when it was not real love. That's part of the existential condition of man. Nothing really lasts forever. So enjoy the moment while it lasts. Okay? Literature should teach you that. Because at the point someone might grow old and someone younger might come along. And someone's interest might shift. Just because of beauty, right? It's part of the human realities. So that's why she writes, Modufo, the very moment you bowed before me, asking me to dance, I knew you were the one I was waiting for. So you need to read this novel, of course. You need to read this novel, right? It's quite beautiful. So that's why she said that it was love at first sight. Even the lady knew, right? And Modufo was also very handsome. Modufo was a handsome young man. A lady's dream, right? But of course, there are also heartbreakers. Just for being handsome, there are also heartbreakers. So look at the description: tall and athletically built. Tall and athletically built, like a sportsman. Olive-colored skin. Oh my God. Olive-colored skin. All right. Because he has a Moorish blood flowing in his veins. Okay? The Moors, who were ancient warriors, has the Moorish blood flowing in his veins. So they were both in school. They met each other there at Teachers Training College, and they fell in love. But Modufo was ambitious. He was ambitious man. Her husband was ambitious. And that's the problem with ambitious men. The ambition can lead them into uncharted paths, like betraying a whole group of workers for their own selfish ambition. So, but Modufo was ambitious. He decided to go to France for further studies. In his letters, he writes, to Ramatullah, he tells her that he is not attracted to white ladies, that she's the only one he loves. He tells her that throughout his day, he's always in the room, doesn't go out. All he does is to read his books. Alright? All he does is to read his books so that he will soon pass the exams and come back to her. You understand? Good. So Moudou had a degree in law from France. So he was highly educated. And highly educated men in those times were likely to become great men. So Moudou had a degree in law from France before returning home. So instead of going into politics, he decides to work. Because he loves to work, and he loves his work to be obscure. Ramatulaye's mother had some reservations about him. When you take a man to your mother, your mom will just look at the man and say, I don't trust this man. But you won't listen, right? You won't listen. At that point, no advice can sway you. Okay? So you tell the woman, are you the one to marry him? You're not the one, I know him. Okay? So the mother said that the only fault that the man had was that he was too handsome, too polished, too perfect for a man. Right? That's what the mother told her. Ramatulaye's mother told her, looked at this man, and I think that he's too handsome, too polished, too perfect for a man. Alright? Men are supposed to have some bruises, but this one is just too perfect. Too perfect to be true. Right? Too good to be true. That's the idea. And now in chapter 7. Ramatulaye recalls their school days with Aishatu. Both Ramatulaye and Aishatu received a colonial education. And the colonial education was meant to lift them out of the bulk of tradition. Lift them out of the bulk of tradition. Out of the bulk of tradition. Superstition and custom. Of course, that was the colonial project, to civilize the natives. So instead of Moudou, Ramatulaye's mother wanted her to marry Dauda Dieng. It was the mother's choice for her, but she won't listen, right? Because she's educated, she can choose the person she wants to marry. So it's like, Mom, you cannot choose for me. This is what I can do by myself, so let me choose for myself, right? So the mother wanted her to marry Dauda Dieng. Dauda Dieng worked as an African doctor. He was actually rich. He tried to woo Ramatulaye with gifts without success. All she wanted was Moudou or nothing. Either Moudou or nothing. Alright, she did not want wealth, she did not want money, she did not want anything. All she wanted was Moudou. Which is also why the betrayal is deep, right? Very deep. Okay? Because she was like, I would have gone for that deal. I would have been rich. Right? But see what you've done. So the marriage between Modufal and Ramatulaye was celebrated without dowry, and to the disappointment of the family. Without dowry, to the disappointment of the family. Because she refused to marry the mother's choice. Again, that's why the betrayal is deep. Because in marrying Modufal, she betrays her family, she disappoints her family. That's why there was no dowry. Aisha married Maduba. Aisha married Maduba. Maduba is a graduate of African School of Medicine and Pharmacy. That's why he qualifies to be a doctor. That's why he's qualified to be a doctor. And being friend to Modufal means that he is Modufal's doctor. That's why it is to him that Ramatulaye goes at the point of Modufal's death. Also, the union between Aisatu and Maduba was met with disapproval from the people. And this time it is because Aisatu came from a humble background, a lowly background. Aisatu came from a lowly background. She was a goldsmith's daughter. She was a goldsmith's daughter. She was a goldsmith's daughter. So people were like, how can you marry into such a lowly family? The marriage was particularly opposed by Maduba's mother, they were from a very highly placed family, part of the nobility of the community. At this point, the father had died. That is, Maduba's father died. It was the mother that controlled things. So she did everything to ensure that the marriage did not succeed. And in our subsequent class, we will see the extent to which she went to stop the marriage and even to continue working against the marriage after Maduba insisted on marrying Aisatu until she succeeds at last, leading to that divorce we talked about, the initial point in the novel. For now, we have to draw a curtain. Enough that we'll meet again next week. Have a beautiful day.